Ascension, the deck building game, is a bit of an older title, but I'm happy to walk you through the digital tutorial and teach you how to play in about 15 minutes here on Legendary Tactics. So I'm just going to zip through the tutorial. It won't take too long. If you're familiar with games like Shards of Infinity and that sort of thing, those kind of deck builders, this is very, very simple to pick up. Some neat twists on that formula, though, which is kind of nice. So everyone starts out with the identical starting deck, very similar to Legendary Encounters or various games like this, where you start out with the same initial starting deck, usually mostly economy with a little bit of military strength, and then same with Star Realms as well. And anyway, the deck cycles through, and you add new cards and build your own deck as you go. So in this game, in Ascension, you have 8 Apprentice cards and 2 Militia cards, which provide runes and power respectively. And the runes are the money. The power is the military strength. There's a picture of the Apprentice and the Militia. And those are basically played into the middle, and you spend the runes or military power that they have. Now, in the tutorial, they make me drag the cards into the middle, but there is a button, a play all button, that pops up in the digital app, so you can, just like Star Realms or Shards of Infinity, you can play them super quickly, which is great. The cards in the upper left here, the Mystic, the Heavy Infantry, and the Cultist, are cards that are here all the time. The Mystic and Heavy Infantry you can purchase to give yourself boosts. Essentially, they're stronger versions of the Apprentice and the Militia. The Cultist is where, if you have extra military power left over that you're not able to spend, you can destroy the Cultist. And essentially, it's a trade of 2 military power for a victory point. I'll show you how that works in a sec. So, but they can always be purchased, which is key to the game. So there's the Cultist there, and the Heavy Infantry, so you can see, and that's just with the UI for the video game version of this. The digital version of this is very typical of these kind of games. I find very intuitive. The number at the top right is the cost in runes to acquire the card. And so we need to play some more Apprentices here, get that up to 3. Now we can acquire a Mystic. And so it's now, again, in the tutorial, it's going to make me drag the card that I'm purchasing to the discard pile. When you're in the real game, you can actually just click on it and it handles all that stuff. But I'll just follow what the tutorial asks. And it is also very handy. Any cards that you can afford get a green halo around them, which is very helpful. And then to defeat a monster, you must spend power. So in this case, the Cultist, you'll see the two military power cost here. So that's how much military, how much power you need to kill the Cultist. And so we'll drag the 2 militias into the area. And then when you kill a monster, it goes into the void. And the Cultist, actually, because it's a permanent card, it never actually disappears forever into the void. You drag it there and play it there, but then it comes right back. So, and as I said, you get a victory point for that. They call it honor, and that's a victory condition of the game. And the goal is to end up, obviously, with more honor than the opponents. And what's kind of interesting is there's essentially a pool. This reminded me a little bit of Race for the Galaxy. There's a pool of victory points available that you have to fight over. And when they run out, that signals the end of the game. And each card that you get also has an honor amount shown in the bottom left corner. And that is going to give you honor at the end of the game. From the cards that you buy, you also get honor when you kill monsters, and there's various sort of bonuses that come into play at that time. So you add up the honor from the battles, from attacking the creatures, and then also from the cards that you bought. So and based on the number of players, that honor pool is going to vary. and it's kind of a neat mechanic that way. When the honor pool is empty, then everyone gets one last turn, and then the game ends. So we'll begin with 60 in the honor pool, and then of course, like most of these games, you get a row of cards in the middle. You get 6 cards in the middle that change throughout the game, and when you purchase a card from the middle row, or you defeat the card in the middle row, then that space is empty, and a new card is dealt from the portal deck to replace it. And you get 5 cards to start, and once you've spent them for your turn, you draw a fresh 5 after that. So we got lucky. We got 5 apprentices this round, so we're going to be able to buy one of the more expensive cards. And you can spend as many runes as you like. You can buy as many cards as you can afford. There's no limit as long as you can afford them. But in general, the more expensive the card is, the better it is. So you could buy 5 cards worth 1 value, or you could buy 1 card worth 5, and that's generally going to be the better move. So we drag that into our discard to acquire it. And because when you acquire a card, it goes into your discard pile, doesn't come into your hand. And it'll be drawn basically when your deck is reshuffled. And as you can see, it replaced the card that was taken. And then we click on end turn, and then our opponent goes. Everything goes back to the discard, and we draw 5 fresh cards. So if you've played those other games, you're probably beginning to see some similarities. So he is going to buy that card, and he has nothing my opponent has nothing to defeat for 1 power, so the militia card is sent to the discard pile without being used. So anytime you have 1 of something, whether it's 1 rune or 1 power, it's not worth anything. You may as well have 0. So you want to spend your attack and runes, your power and your runes, basically as precisely as you can. So we have 3 and 2 right now. The Wolf Shaman is for 3 rune. It's the same color card, the Lifebound Hero, as the Snapdragon that I got last time. So that's a good one to pick. You want to kind of work. You can see each card has a different color to it, so you want to kind of work that if you can. So that'll give an extra honor to us in this case, because if the Snapdragon is in play, then it gives an extra honor for playing it. So we'll need 3 runes, so we'll do that and drop 3 runes into the middle, and we'll acquire it. And we have 2 power. Now there's nothing else to defeat, so we'll just have to defeat the cultist, because the other cards with the red cost at the top right, with the power cost, are 3 and 4, so we just don't have enough. And so that gives us an honor, though, so that's not a bad deal. We're out of cards in our draw deck, so the discard pile is going to be shuffled, and that's the new deck, and that's where the fresh cards come into play. So you'll see a couple of them turn up. There's the Snapdragon that I just got. My opponent drew 4 runes and 1 power. The 1 power goes to waste, and my opponent grabs 2 heavy infantry at a cost of 2 each. So now the Snapdragon has an effect. Now, what they call a construct. Now, a construct is a card that's a permanent character, and until whenever it expires, typically because either a card effect or because your opponent does something to destroy your construct. So when you play it, it doesn't go into the discard pile. It's a permanent or relatively permanent card. And you can see once per turn I get a rune, and the first time I play a Lifebound Hero each turn, I gain 1 honor. So this has the ability to compound the longer it stays in play. So so we're going to drag it into the action area, and it actually gets tucked away and a little bit towards the bottom left there. And because I played it, then the rune is added to my rune count. And so I've got 3 from the apprentices and then 1 from my Snapdragon. So Now timing is part of this as well. So sometimes you're going to want to time your cards so that you get the best possible effect. So I'm going to spend the rune to drag the Aura Initiate over, and that opens up a space which is a potentially new card. So you want to time that to maybe get a look at the upcoming cards and the ones that are about to be available. With this card, Emery, the one with the void, is a good card, but we can't afford it right now. It requires 6. So there's nothing that we can afford in the center row, but we have 3 runes left, so we're going to get a Mystic. Drag that across, and we have 1 power remaining, but there's nothing we can do with it, so it just ends up disappearing. All right, and my opponent has 4 power and 3 runes, and so my opponent defeats the Mistake of Creation, which I can't show you that, but basically gives 4 honor and allows my opponent to banish any card from the center row and another card from the discard pile as a reward. Why would you want to do that? Well, you might want to disrupt your opponent's strategy. That's why you might banish a card from the center row. And when you banish a card or remove a card from your discard pile, that's a reward, because you want to get those apprentices and militia slowly out of your deck if you can. It makes your deck more efficient, and the powerful cards come up more often. So it's kind of pruning the deck is also an important strategy in this game. And the card goes to the void, and there's no need to actually defeat it or anything, and there's no reward if you do that with any monsters. So the neat thing is about this game is you don't actually attack each other. You're using your power to attack the creatures that turn up in the middle row, or if you have any leftover power, the cultist. So it's kind of neat that way. It's a bit of a twist. I'm so used to playing games where you have to attack the opponent's base or HQ or whatever, and so this is kind of interesting. So as an interesting little twist. So in that case, that card was banished, Master Dartha, and so that's because his deck is based mostly on power cards, so didn't want me to acquire that really good card. And it was replaced in this case by a card my opponent wants, so now the opponent can spend the 3 runes to grab that card, and their turn is done. And once again, my Snapdragon gives me that rune, and the Wolf Shaman is a good option because it gives an honor, just because the Snapdragon effect says that. And now we have 6 runes and 1 power. Now the 1 power might not be too valuable, but we'll see. All right, so now we have the ability to acquire this really powerful card, which is great. Nothing left to defeat for the 1 power. And so we'll move on. And my opponent goes 3 runes and 3 power and defeats Samael's Trickster, which you can see the reward to gain 1 honor and 1 rune. So the rewards are all written on the cards. So you're going to want to choose the monster that you defeat based on the reward it gives you. So now suddenly my opponent has 4 runes and can purchase Druids of the Stone Circle. All right, and now it's the end of that turn. All right, and so now we can play the Aura Initiate, which the reason why we would do that is it gives more options, because the card effect, it's like an event. It costs a rune, but we get to draw a card, and that opens up some more options. So now there's 5 power that we have. So we have enough power to defeat the Wind Tyrant here. And we'll drag a Militia over. And now the Wind Tyrant here gives us, well, I can't see that, 3 honor and 3 runes. So I'll drag that to the Void. And that gives us some good stuff. Now we can afford the Muramasa with the 7 runes. So now you can see our deck's getting a lot of powerful cards. And that's basically the game. Obviously the cards will have their own abilities and you'll need to learn those, but there's no other rules that you require to understand how to play this game. So I encourage you to give it a try. We're going to end the video here, and I'll be doing some playthroughs so you can see some examples of play. Thank you so much for watching, and we look forward to seeing you here next time on Legendary Tactics.